Okay. All right, folks, we are recording. It is 2 minutes past the hour, right when I like to get started. I am your friend, Stefan Lubinsky. Thanks again for showing up for session 2 of the 3 M's of marketing. I know you can't see this too well, but mission, message, and media. Yesterday, we talked about mission. Just a quick recap for those of you that may not have been here, and I'm certainly not going to redo the whole thing. You can go back and if you're part of Chad's Facebook group, you can watch the replay there. But at the end of the day, I really feel that these kind of pillars are very much connected, or they cascade, right? So you really can't be on message if you're not truly on mission. And what we talked about being on mission is that there's both an inward reason to have a mission, and that is it's what gives us that drive and that strength to do the things that suck, to do the things we don't want to do the things that make us uncomfortable. And all of those things typically are part of doing something new. And ultimately, the reason that you join a webinar like this or go to a seminar or read a book is to listen for new ideas and to take new actions so that you can increase your business, because you're basically saying, I'm not where I want to be, right? I'm not earning at the level, the kind of amount of money and the amount of time I want to put in is not quite where I want it to be. But inherent in that, when you find some of these ideas, there's no like easy button. And so ultimately you end up having to do things, and some of those things suck. Or again, they're just uncomfortable. And we as humans tend to, try to not do what makes us uncomfortable. So that is the intrinsic part, that kind of flag that we're carrying for that audience. The flip side of mission, by the way, and I'm recapping because it's really important to lead into messaging, which is you have to be on mission for somebody, right? And it's not for yourself, okay? So this isn't a personal mission statement. This is about marketing. This is the 3 M's of marketing. So your mission has to be for your tribe, for your audience, okay? For that group of people that you're saying, I get you, I understand you, I have a unique solution or service for you, you're my people, okay? All right. And so, again, if you didn't get a chance to watch it, do that, because I think it's important. Sometimes when people are looking for a new marketing strategy, platform, technique, often what they've skipped is looking at the fundamentals, right? So I guess what the 3 M's of marketing is saying, why don't you just take a beat, and before you get too far into your marketing in 2019, why don't you revisit your fundamentals? When's the last time you looked under the hood and kind of checked the oil and tire pressure or whatever of your message, of your mission, of your fundamentals? So go and check out mission. And by the way, if you'd like to engage me about that, you can find me on Chad's Facebook group, on that mortgage originators Facebook group. You can find me on LinkedIn. Happy to go back and forth about this. So today, session 2, we're talking about message, right? So it's mission, message, and media are the 3 M's to successful marketing. And today's all about message. So the genesis of this, interestingly, and where I discovered the 3 M's, was at a networking event here in Austin. And what happened was a guy came up to me and I said, what do you do? And he mumbled through his reply. And, he was also sharing too much because he was explaining that he was kind of out of work and he was in between jobs, and just kind of really mumbled through it. And the guy had a great look. He had a great presence to himself. He just had no confidence. He didn't have poise. He didn't speak persuasively. He didn't think about the words that were going to come out of his mouth. Now think about this for a second, right? Because this is why we're here. When you go to a networking event, it's for the express purpose of meeting people that will move your business agenda forward in some way, reciprocally, right? But that's the purpose of networking. I mean, that you want to go and add value, and then you hope to be able to receive value, whether that's in referrals, whether that's in knowledge, whatever it is, but it's so that you can level up your business. So you're going for an express purpose. And yet so many people that I've worked with or seen, certainly, wing it. They wing it. And so maybe that's the first thing to write down. Am I winging my messaging? That's the first question I'd ask myself. Am I winging my messaging? And here's the definition of winging it. You didn't write it down first. You didn't define the specific persuasive words. I'll say that again. the specific persuasive words. You didn't write them down. You didn't look through the lens of the audience to whom you were speaking. So you didn't craft this message for them. So you didn't really give it some thought. And because you're not a professional broadcaster, because you're not a professional actor, you then decided, I'll just say whatever, comes to mind. And that obviously is not, it's not persuasive. It's not confident. It's not how it works. I think top producers are much more poised and confident, and often it's because they practiced their message over the years, even if it wasn't on purpose, but that their message was honed and crafted. And so let's go back to that networking event for a reason, because that was the genesis of 3Ms. So I told this guy, I said, hey man, let's just stop right there. You're not going to run around like telling people that, right? Because that, I mean, unless your goal honestly is to be ignored and shunned or forgotten or whatever, like you're here to try to make things happen for yourself. And he's like, yeah. I said, all right, well, take your phone out and let's write a script. And so he took his phone out, and basically, even though he was kind of in between jobs, that's not a great story, right, to tell when you're at a networking event. So instead, I said, like, what do you do? And he said, I'm in DevOps. And I said, I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. So people start with, what do you do? And you're gonna say DevOps, and then they're gonna say, who do you work for? It's like the natural thing that just happens. And you're going to say, oh, I'm glad you asked. Actually, I offer DevOps as a service, which means companies that can't afford my level of expertise can access me fractionally. Okay? He was like, what? And then he wrote that down and he told that story. And I said, like, you've got some projects you're working on, right? Got some side hustle clients. He's like, yeah. I go, then we're not lying. You currently do some work here and there, different clients. Okay. You're DevOps as a service. And because some companies can't afford your level of expertise, you offer your time fractionally. Those were crafted words meant to be persuasive, meant to show poise and confidence and expertise, and then throw in that he's so senior that you gotta buy me by the slice, baby. You can't afford this whole pizza. Okay? All right. So the reason I'm talking about the networking event, it was actually a conversation with Chad that was talking about just that getting people on message and teaching them how to deliver it confidently with the right timing and the right words and the right eye contact, the whole bit. That it's the difference between the sales funnels that were working for him and the ones where the light went on and he realized, I get it. I know why some of these sales funnels are performing better than others. I wasn't looking at the talent. I wasn't looking at the person who ultimately comes in contact with the lead at some point in that funnel, whether by video or by a virtual meeting on a Google Hangout or Skype or Zoom or whatever. At some point, they come in contact with the person. And if the person is not on point, if they are not persuasive, if they are not confident, then the person who doesn't already know, like, and trust them, if they're not at the bottom of that trust funnel, then what are the chances that they're going to get there, right? Okay. So, and by the way, that's our whole goal. Our whole goal, and I'll say this every time, the business you're really in is collecting humans. You're in the human collecting business. And wherever you go, you want to collect humans. Now, you want them to be the right humans. Back to tribe. And if you haven't read Seth Godin's Tribes, please, 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 please write it down. Write it down. Get it when you're now. Get on Amazon now while I'm talking. Get Tribes. Once you know who your tribe is, mine is the self-employed, independent salesperson who's responsible for their own sales and marketing and who's struggling. That's how far down I had to niche, right? It wasn't, it's the self-employed. That's a big dartboard to throw at the self-employed. Okay, consultants, solopreneur, like people that like one person, right? That are struggling because they're overwhelmed by sales and marketing. That's my tribe. It's big enough. Trust me, it's a large enough. I could never outfish it. You know what I'm saying? So I need you to figure out your mission so you can figure out your tribe, right? And that mission is expressed in the messaging. Okay, meaning you're always on mission, and so the content that you're creating is on mission. The other thing I want you to write down, I'm sure I'll get there with my notes. I'm a little ADD, but you'll get all the content and then you figure it out. The other thing I want you to write down is the lens through which you need to look constantly is when you're creating content, who is it about? I see way too many times it's about the salesperson. It's about that loan officer. It's about that realtor. It's about that insurance. Like that's right. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right? Zig Ziglar or something like that. It's true. And so the content that you create has got to be about them. So let's talk about the tip. Oh, I know you can't barely see this, but I need you to just understand that this is the know, like, and trust funnel. But the reverse pyramid is that the smallest amount of content is when somebody knows you the least. Snackable content, social content. This works for brands too. When you don't know a brand, you might engage with a quick Instagram post or whatever. And that's how you're captivating, right? So you captivate to get somebody at no, but your messaging is about your mission and it's short form. So what's super short form? What a lot of people call the elevator pitch. I like what Bob Burg calls it, right? A benefit statement. Because pitch doesn't sound good. Nobody wants to be sold to. Remember what Jeffrey Gitomer said, right? Nobody likes to be sold to, but everybody loves to buy. Something close to that. It's true. So I say don't even use the word elevator pitch. Go with Bob Burg. If you haven't read Endless Referrals, such a classic, please do. Such a great book. There's some good tips about networking. Again, write it down. Endless Referrals. If you read it 20 years ago, read it again. Okay? I promise you, I am not leading you to any waste of time. Any of these things that I'm encouraging you to do is because there's massive value that you can unlock. All right. So the benefits statement, you can't see that at all. Anyway, okay, let's try this color. The benefits statement is the shortest piece of content, right? What you say at those networking events. All right. So here's what I want you to think about. If you are answering, so what do you do, which is the most typical opening line at a networking event. If you answer it with a title, then you've commoditized yourself. Does that make sense? Let me just make sure the chat isn't trying to tell me something. All right. You've commoditized yourself by saying, I'm a loan officer, I'm a realtor, I'm an insurance agent, or whatever that is. Okay. So instead, a benefit statement, and when I say the lens through which you look is the audience that you are speaking to, but it is also the mission that you are on. So as an example, instead of saying, I'm a realtor, a classic example would be, especially if you're a buyer's agent, I help people who are tired of landlords and rent finally achieve the American dream and own a home. That is a much more emotional benefit statement than saying, I'm a realtor. It also describes the mission you're on. In this case, you're a first-time home buyer, buyer's agent, mission specialist. Let me tell you something else about mission for those that weren't there yesterday. It's not mutually exclusive against the other things the other business. If you are a new home buyers, that's your mission, buyer's agent, doesn't mean, I know I'm talking to loan officers right now, but you get my point. It doesn't mean that you can't also take business. If you're an FHA specialist, if you're a VA specialist, it doesn't mean that you can't also do a paper jumbo vanilla loan for somebody that was referred to you out of your tribe, people that aren't really part of your tribe, but they were referred in. So nothing's mutually exclusive. You're not going, oh man, if I focus on VA, if I put the flag in the ground and that's my thing, I'm really going to screw myself on. I can't do the FHAs. Of course you can. Okay. So, but you have to be focused in you can't be all things to all people. Okay. So you have to specialize. It's not even just about specialization of expertise, which it is, right? That's what people want to buy, right? They don't want multifunction. They want I'm the best VA guy in Denver, period. Okay. All right. So let's get back to the elevator pitch because it's so important because it starts here. This is the acorn that becomes the oak tree. That's why I'm still here at this top part, that elevator pitch. So I went to a networking event and I was working on a program called Stop Selling. And not that I completed it, but I wanted to test out the messaging. So when I went to the networking event and people would say, what do you do? I would say, I help small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs grow their business by learning how to stop selling. So I promise you every single time they leaned in, because A, it was counterintuitive. I just ended it by saying the way they're going to learn to grow their business is to stop selling. But what I didn't say was, oh, I'm a sales trainer, or I'm a coach, or I'm a speaker. I didn't say that. I said, I help small businesses, entrepreneurs, and solopreneurs grow their business by learning how to stop selling. And inevitably people would lean in and say, well, what does that mean? That's so interesting. Like, what do you mean stop selling? And so they would ask questions, they would peel it back. So the other way to do this is to also add a qualifying statement to that. So when somebody says to you, what do? You could say, so in my case, you know how some self-employed consultants, solopreneurs, et cetera, independent salespeople struggle with sales, overwhelmed by all the marketing options? I help them get focused on a marketing campaign that's tailored to their strengths. Then I teach them all the tools so they can repeat the process on their own and finally take control of their sales and marketing. That's my mission. That's my mission. I'm clear. Those words are concise. And I teed up the problem. And then I said, well, you know how this happens out there? If I was that buyer's agent, I'd say, well, you know how there's so many people that are stuck in apartments and they're just so unhappy with their landlords and they just don't think they can ever buy a home? Well, I specialize in helping those people find homes and even alternatives to apartments that are on their way to single-family residences, or you get my point. All right. Next thing you want to know, that as you move down know, like, and trust, people go deeper with the content they consume. So when you're looking to captivate, when you're talking to new people, you want to have that benefit statement, that mission, that like, I'm on this mission for these people, and you want that available in different ways. So that's that elevator or that benefit statement, right? That's your small speech, but that also might represent some of the content you're putting on social media. That might be some of the messaging and memes. It might be short snippet videos, meaning that snackable content is what people that don't know you yet are willing to consume. So if you can captivate them with what mission you're on, that's a good place to start. And then always, as we go down, the content's about them. So one of the other things I would encourage you to do is go to your website and see how much of that copy on your website is written about you versus your audience. And think about that for a second. Go back to nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I would argue that if you are going to redo your website or create a new standalone single page design, which your website should be anyway, and don't even worry about your old website, is to make it 80% about your audience and 20% about you. Okay? And I'm telling you, if you go to your website right now, just write that down as another to-do. Go to your website and take a look at it. I wonder if it's 80% about you and 20% about them. Okay. So let's see what else I got for you. So again, the other thing that I would have you write down is that, again, I feel that a simplified buyer's journey as it relates to content is as follows. It's captivate at first. That's getting their attention so that they can know you, right? Because we have to satisfy each one of these stages. We got to get them to know us, and then they got to like us. And so liking is a product of frequency, right? And I talked about this yesterday, that if the weatherman sat next to you in a restaurant, you'd be like, oh my God, that's so-and-so. I love that guy, blah, blah, blah. You've never met him, but you have this sense of know, like, and likely trust. If that guy was selling something to you at the end, you'd be like, oh, I think I'm going to buy that. All right. And you know that's the case. So that's a matter of frequency. So what that brings us to is, well, what kind of frequency content can I create? Educate and entertain. Educate and entertain. Now, entertain can mean a lot of different things. Maybe you're a wrencher. You go under the hood. You do cool stuff with cars and stuff like that. Then you can create some content that could be kind of interesting or maybe funny or whatever, that isn't always certainly educational about the real estate business. All right. So you can't just keep hitting people with like rate information and product information and credit information and all of that. And that's important interspersed out, right? So think about a content calendar. Do you even have one? Do you have a content calendar? Are you winging that? Are you winging what is being posted and when? Are you outsourcing that to a company just so that they're pumping out stuff? But that's not pumping out important messaging, taking people through that know, like, and trust thing. This is about, converting people, and converting people is about getting them to like you and to trust you. So again, if you're winging all of this, whether it's at a networking event, then you're going to get the least amount of value out of it. But my goodness, if you're paying for traffic to either come to your site or somehow your list or whatever, and you're literally just like, oh, I guess I'll send this out, or you're just buying some templated newsletter. I mean, back to like, nobody cares what you know until they know what you care. You clearly don't care. Let me ask you this. I said this at a presentation once. I asked all the realtors in the room to put their hand up if their friends, their personal friends, were on their newsletter mailing list, and like, no hands went up. So I'll ask you, how many of you put your friends, the people that you love, how many of you put your friends in your newsletter? Not a lot of you. Know why? Because friends don't newsletter friends, right? Friends don't market to friends. And that's because some templated newsletter probably sucks. I mean, it might be good content. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's why I keep coming back to, there's only three things, people: mission, message, and then the media that you use to get that message to these people. So authenticity, genuine, it being you. That's why we're so bullish on video. That's the other thing. You want to fast track sales? You want to fast track conversions? If you have not been using video, you'll watch your business have the largest increase in conversions using video, because video elicits and expresses emotion. It's what gets them to think that they know and like you way faster than your blog post, 1 billion times faster than your shitty newsletter. You dig what I'm saying? So it's about putting you out there with the right message, which is a lot about your mission, and finding content that educates and entertains this tribe that you give a shit about. And then they will clamor to buy from you and refer to you, right? But this, again, it starts with like, it really does matter about giving a shit. I swear that's part of this. You have to care. If all you're caring about is, I'm just here, man, to like figure out like a tactic to make like more money, or like, is there like a targeting thing, or something that I just need more of these people that I flip like that. I mean, I'm sure there are, but that you can like, boop, get off this call. There's no, I don't do any get deals quick, or this is the long game. This is how you do it right. So if you're sticking with me because you want to do it right, captivate, educate, entertain, and then finally convince and convert. So let's talk about that kind of content. Video testimonials. If you're not using them, again, you want to watch conversions go up. If you're going to, when it comes to the part of your website where you need to talk about you, have other people do it for you. Let me say that again. Write that down. When it comes to the part of your website, or I should say messaging, that doesn't matter. Forget website. Forget I said that. Website, social media, wherever the eyes and ears would come in contact with this content, if you must talk about yourself, and it is appropriate at some point to explain your unique value proposition, have somebody else do it for you. Have someone else do it for you. Okay? And by the way, it's so easy today with technology to get clients. Listen, you're like, how am I supposed to get a client like at the closing? Yeah, if you go to the closing. If you don't, have you heard of Skype or Zoom? I can record both of us free. It's free. Sign up for Zoom. There's a nut. Write that down. Because if you're not using video conferencing with your clients, you're losing your mind. Guys, collect humans, get them to know you, get them to like you. Then they'll trust you eventually, hopefully. And then they'll do business with you, and they'll refer business to you, and they'll keep doing that until you screw that up somehow, right? So video conferencing, I want them seeing me and hearing me. I can use, write this one down, Loom, Loom, or Soapbox. Both of those are Chrome plugins. I can review a GFE using video, where they're going to see a little bubble of me while I scroll through the Good Faith Estimate and explain stuff to them, or whatever, or Truth in Lending, or HMDA. Oh, you didn't think I knew all that? So you get what I'm saying? Now, man, if I can turn Truth in Lending and HMDA into a marketing opportunity to get to know, like, and trust me, I mean, come on. It was worth being on this call just for that. Who else is talking about that. All right. So use video recording, simple screen share video. Oh, by the way, what's the cost of Loom and Soapbox? Oh, they're free. Zoom, free. Free. Putting your mind to who am I talking to and what should I be saying to them? Free. You know? All right. Well, I guess I got 3 minutes left. So if you have anything to say in the chat, I guess say it. I feel like I think, you know, I think I said some stuff. Let me see if there's any other stuff that I just wanted to say. Okay. I don't see anything in the chat, so I'll just tell you. But there's still people here. So at the top of this pyramid, right, you've got your, we talked about this, your benefit statement, right, the alternative to an elevator pitch, okay? But then as they go down into the trust, as they get closer to buying, right, you want to do buyer persona, pain, and solution content as well, which is why I use that in my benefit statement where I qualified by saying, you know how some self-employed solopreneurs struggle, blah, 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 okay? So thinking about who that buyer persona is, like your mission is defined who your niche, your audience, your tribe is. Try to do research, your own research, just going back with the people that you do business with, but what is typically their pain, right? And this is writing great content when it's literally about their experience, about like, this is what they go through because this is the situation, and I've created a solution to that. Okay, let me just see if there's anything else. So messaging is what comes out of your mouth. It's what's on your printed collateral, for your business card or anything else, your website, your videos, your social media and your blog post, interviews, your email drips, your newsletter, all of that is your messaging. And again, it should always be about them, and it can't constantly be about the business that you're in, right? It can't constantly just be about mortgages or real estate or whatever, right? So, so you need to put some thought into it. So again, what was the content calendar? Thinking about that, putting some effort into this. Guys, your business, if you're like, I want to do things to make more money, this is it. This is the stuff. It's not about a new piece of software that scrapes LinkedIn email addresses or whatever. You know, it's not about a gizmo. It's about the fundamentals. It's about the right message to the right audience at the right time through the buyer journey. And it's about social proof, video testimonials, using video tools to connect with your clients. So I think that's it. Tomorrow we're going to talk about media. Okay, I hope this was useful. Let me see. I think there's a couple of things. Hold on. Do you recommend a majority of content to be video-based? I will tell you this, 68 to 72% of what is consumed on the internet is video-based. And I think that excludes just streaming, but maybe it does, right, with Netflix and all that stuff. People consume more video than anything else. What I would say to you is, it doesn't need to be all video, but you need to really start using video as much as possible and in a way that isn't gratuitous. So when there's something important to say, I'd use video. If you're not good at it, you practice. That's the other thing about message. You know what they say about how do you get to Carnegie Hall or Carnegie Hall? It's practice, practice, practice. It's the same thing. You know, before I go to that networking event, I write out that little paragraph. You know, and then I practice it in the car or whatever, or I listen to it on my voice recorder. I mean, you practice until you can go in there and confidently look at somebody square in the eyes and deliver that value proposition, that benefit statement, that unique sales proposition, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How long should video messages be? It depends on the context. I mean, if I'm reviewing a good faith estimate, it's just a video going directly to my client. It's as long as it takes me to do that. If I'm making a piece of content for social media, I think you want to be in the 3 minutes and down range. If you're doing an interview, it can be longer. And we'll talk about this tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk about some incredible strategies. The local interview strategy is maybe one of the most powerful. In fact, I better write that down that I talk about that tomorrow, or I'm going to forget. So local interview strategy. Okay. Well, it's the end of the hour. I hope that, or the half hour, I hope you guys found this useful. Hopefully it gave you some things to think about. The replay will be available in Chad's Facebook group because he's who's paid for all of this. And I'm available in that group as well to be engaged with, ask questions, However I can help you succeed, I am happy to do it. Thank you, Scott, for the nice compliment. And thanks to all of you for joining. I hope you have a great rest of your day and figure out your mission and your message. And tomorrow we'll talk about media.